nationwide initiators of Refuse Fascism.org. He is a co-founding member of the Revolutionary Communist Party, and we are very, very grateful and lucky to have him with us today. Give it up.
All right. You are where you needed to be today. You are where humanity needed you to be today. Gotta pull this down. It's not working right. Humanity needs the TrumpPence regime driven from office. Humanity needs the assault that they've launched on the environment stopped. Humanity needs the assault that they've launched on immigrants stopped. Because it may not be in the news, but there are still people from Central and South America and other places in camps on the southern border. There are still children separated from their parents in those camps. Violence is being unleashed. There's the Proud Boys, but not just them. There were the official stormtroopers that Trump sent into Portland and in Kansas City and Chicago, which he didn't talk that much about. It was in the news that he sent them into Portland. So he's got official stormtroopers who are being unleashed and unofficial stormtroopers who he told to stand by. They are recruiting people to be poll watchers. Now, most of y'all don't have my experience, which is another way to say you ain't as old as I am. I know what they mean when they say we're going to go watch the polls. That means in the southeastern United States, it meant get some thugs out there to stop black people from voting. In the southwestern United States, it meant get some thugs out there to stop brown people from voting. That's what poll watching was. They're recruiting tens of thousands of poll watchers. Why? Well, he told you why on the debate. He ain't accepting no peaceful transfer of power. He ain't accepting no transfer of power. He's going to subvert, delegitimize, and steal the election. If it still don't go his way, he is going to contest it for months. Because remember he said, well, we won't know who's going to be the president for days, weeks, even months. Well, the only reason for that is because he's going to contest it if he loses. And if it comes down to it, he's going to try to roll it into the Supreme Court where he has just put another fascist. He hopes it'll be he just put another fascist there to ensure his victory. We are up against fascists who are working feverishly to hammer the final nails into the coffin of basic rights in this country. Now, that's what's going down. I ain't hyping this up. I ain't creating a narrative. I'm telling you what's happening. Now, you see this happening. If you see this happening, you got to stop it. And I know Christian was going through his thing on fascism, but it don't need to be real complex. When the motherfucker says, I can't disavow white supremacists, when he said, I can't go with an election, I'm gonna fuck with the post office, I'm gonna have my poll watchers there to make sure it don't go against me, and if it don't come out right, well then I ain't gonna go along with it. I'm not gonna commit to accepting a peaceful transfer of power. What you have is you have an all-around right-wing agenda combined with refusing to accept elections. That's fascism. I mean, and we can get more complex, we can go through the whole definition, but he's telling you, because I just talked to an international journalist who said, well, this is America. Y'all have elections, y'all have democracy. And I said, didn't you hear him say he don't care how the election goes? And if we're going to wait and see how the election goes, it's going to go wrong. You know, people should vote against Trump. I'm going to vote for the first time in one of their elections. I'm a revolutionary communist. I've been one for decades. I have never voted in one of their elections because all I saw was representatives of one wing or another of the capitalist system. This time it matters because one representative of a wing of the capitalist system is a fascist, the other one isn't. We got to stop the fascist. That's why I'm going to vote, but voting by itself ain't enough. We got to be in the streets. Like Emma said, we got to bring more people. How we going to bring more people? We got to organize them. And you all have to be part of the organizers who do that. People who are veterans of 1 week with the OutNow movement have to go out and get some new people and bring them in and turn them into organizers so they can go out and get some more people. We have to build our numbers because it's got to reach the point where there is a living manifestation of millions of people saying we refuse to accept a fascist America. Trump, Pence, out now. That's what's going to be required. It will help if there's an overwhelming vote against Trump, but since he's told you I don't care about the votes anyway, that's not going to be enough. We cannot expect that some channel of the system or other is going to take care of this. You know, people thought the midterm elections would do it, the Mueller report, impeachment, all of that stuff. None of it did it. None of it even slowed the fascist juggernaut down. It's going to take us in the streets to do that, and we can do it. Because what does happen if in cities across the country there are millions and millions of people in the streets? What does happen? Well, Trump is still going to have his move trying to stay in power by hook or by crook. But other representatives of this system are going to have to think about this. So far, enough of them have been down with Trump to keep it going. And the ones who haven't been down with him have been like, well, we'll try to ride this out and hope we get back the next time around. But if the whole country has become basically stopped because of the millions in the street, if the question of the whole system is up for grabs, then he can be Nixonized. Now again, I know this is something that's old history for you guys, ancient history. But Nixon resigned from the presidency, and how did that happen? Some of the wise old heads in the capitalist class came to him and said, look, Dick, you gotta go. Because the whole system is getting shaky. And we think our system is more important than you. And Nixon left. Now, Donald will probably be harder to get out. That's why we need millions and millions of people in the street. And that's what we have to set ourselves to. We have to leave here today after we march firmly aware that we have to bring more people out. We have to bring out people who have been in the streets around Black Lives Matter, fighting for an end to white supremacy. We have to convince them that if they really want to end white supremacy, then they got to get that white supremacist out of the White House. Yeah. They got to get rid of the dude who is telling the Proud Boys, avowed white supremacists, to stand by. That if they don't, ending white supremacy becomes much, much harder. Extinction Rebellion was here today. Is here today. They are here because they get that if you're going to save the environment, you don't want to have in charge of the United States a science-denying motherfucker who is just devastating the environment, accelerating the devastation of the environment. We got to go to the immigrants' rights forces and say, look, you are right to want to stand against those attacks. And frankly, we've stood with you in some of those against some of those attacks. But if we're going to stop those attacks on immigrants, it ain't going to happen by standing by and letting the person who has spearheaded the intensification of those attacks to have another term in office. I want to leave you with an analogy to Nazi Germany. You know, I was talking to that reporter, and she was like, "You ain't saying Trump is like Hitler, are you?" Which is a question I often get from media people. One time my response to it was, "Oh no, he's very different than Hitler. Hitler had a little black mustache. He's got an orange swirl on his head. That's the difference between them." And that was right. But here's the thing. I want to make the analogy to all of Nazi Germany as opposed to America. Now, there were a lot of people in Germany who didn't like what the Nazis were doing. There were communists, there were socialists, there were trade unionists, there were different nationalities like the Romani people who are usually called the Gypsies. All of them didn't like Hitler, but they didn't come together to stand against him. They didn't rise up against him until it was too late. Well, it's getting late, the hour's getting late, but it is not too late. We have to bring together all of the forces who do not like what this regime is doing, who hate what this regime is doing. And we have to convince them that they have to take that hatred off of their phone and computer and out in the streets.
Yes.
Actually, you can still have it on your phone and your computer, but come on out in the streets. In addition to that, manifest that in the streets. Stand together with people from many different movements, people from many different backgrounds. All of us coming together around one thing, that we refuse to stand by and allow the fascists to consolidate their rule, because we know the horror that that will mean for humanity. You know, and I've looked a little bit at the history of Germany, and I really was inspired by what the White Rose movement did. They were students who took up activity against Hitler, put their lives on the line to fight the Hitler regime. But they didn't do it until late in the war. It was too late. They got crushed. Many of them got executed. I'm inspired by what they did, but we don't want to repeat that. We don't want to rise up when it's too late. We have to get the movement going to drive this fascist TrumpPence regime out now. We got to get that movement going now. We're in the streets. We got to stay in the streets. We got to bring others into the streets. We need to have stuff going on all around the city. I remember Ferguson, when that happened. We'd be out marching, and we'd be going this way in a march of thousands of people, and there'd be thousands of people marching the other way. So then we just swung, and there were thousands and thousands of people marching together. We need that going on. We can get that going on because there are the people there who hate what this regime is doing on a number of different fronts. I saw them out around the environment. I saw them out around Black Lives Matter. I saw them out around the school shootings. People have been in the street. I saw them out on the women's marches. We got to bring all of that together. This is what humanity needs from us. This is what we must commit ourselves to. Trump, Pence, out now.
Trump, Pence, out now.
Trump, Pence, out now.
Trump, Pence, out now.